From the AT&T 5G virtual studio, this is Group Chat presented by AT&T. I'm David Gass alongside Stephen Keel for this one. Keel, this is my Group Chat debut. You got any advice for me?
Listen, I don't even any advice. Listen, you just be you, man. You know, it's like when the manager puts up the starting 11, I see that my center back partner is you. I'm like, yo, perennial all-star, best 11. I'm going to have a great day. He's going to make my life easy. Let him do all the hard work. And I just kind of, ride his little coattails a little bit. But no, listen, man, excited to have you on the show. We like to just kind of talk about whatever we feel like.
Anything. Absolutely anything.
I mean, listen, yeah, Susanna, listen, you want to talk fashion? We got it. Food, astrology, whatever you want. I'm down to talk about it with you.
You got my horoscope for me today then?
That's at the end. We say horoscopes come at the end.
Got it. Well, we're looking forward to the rest of this show. We've got so much to talk about. Obviously, a huge weekend of MLS action coming up. We've had a great week of play as well that we're coming out to. Maybe a little bit of pettiness that we're going to talk about. Stephen Keel that I'm excited for, and a bunch of national team going on. But let's take a look at where we stand right now, Keel, in the MLS standings. And you take a look at New England sitting on top of the Eastern Conference. Cincinnati, obviously, bringing up the rear at the bottom. Keel, what jumps out to you from what we've seen over the first few weeks?
I think you got to look at Orlando sitting in the second spot. They're one of three teams without a loss. And I think for Oscar Pereira's squad is defensively, they've been great. Only conceded 2 goals, tied with Seattle for the fewest. But I think the thing is they're going to get better, and they're going to get better probably sooner than later. Daryl DK should be back with the squad after his loan finishes up. Pato hopefully will be coming back from injury as well. So I think offensively, they're going to add some players, some key players to help score some more goals. But Orlando looking nice in the second spot right now.
The DK train riding strong. Let's take a look at the Western Conference as well. Seattle, obviously, leading the way, dominant so far in this season, even without some of these stars. But Keel, to me, what stands out is Houston's had a really strong start to the season. They're sitting in a playoff spot. And RSL, who everyone counted out coming into the year, they know who they are, and they've been playing some fun soccer.
Absolutely, those two teams for sure above the playoff spot. And for me, the team that I'm looking at is in that 4th spot, tied for 3rd with Kansas City. It's Colorado, 3 straight wins. Robin Fraser has his team playing well, and probably, I think we looked at Daryl DK. His stock is skyrocketing. Another player whose stock is skyrocketing, Sam Vines, left back. Since he's coming back into the team's rattled off three consecutive wins, and what a special player he is. But I think with him coming into the team, it's allowed Kellen Acosta to go back into the central midfield, where I think he's at his best, and you can see the results have been there for Colorado.
You making that Rapid scarf proud right there over your right shoulder.
That's it. Listen, man, every time you got to plug the squad a little bit, you got to give them some love. But listen, they get love when they deserve love. So, 3 wins. They look good doing it. And, I'm a big fan of what Robin Fraser's doing out there in the Centennial State.
Many people that are proud of where they're from, but no one loves the state flag as much as people from Colorado. I assume you have a full back tattoo of the state flag. Maybe we'll get that around horoscope time.
I got so many T-shirts that have Colorado just on it, so that's what we do.
No one loves the state flag like the people of Colorado. I love it too. It's a great place to be. We took a look at those standings. Some teams sitting down towards the bottom that are actually going to lose some important players maybe for a couple of weeks, as we've got international call-ups coming up and some historic moments for MLS. You've got players that are going to be going to Euros, players playing in South American World Cup qualifying, Nations League here in CONCACAF, as well as World Cup qualifying here in CONCACAF as well, Keel. We're going to touch on a bunch of these players and what's been going on, but in general, this is where MLS wants to be. You want to have players playing in the biggest competition and see that MLS is a stage to show themselves to get into those national teams and then go and perform at a high level.
Yeah, absolutely. And you love to see it. You love to see players that, and we both of us are very pro MLS, and we love to see the guys do well in MLS, and then obviously go and do well on the international stage, represent their club or their country, excuse me. But, I think when we look at it, we're starting to see, there's so many players going and playing in different places all over the world, representing their national teams. And it gives us as fans maybe games that we wouldn't necessarily pay attention to or watch, like a rooting investment. A good friend.
You're a diehard Finland fan, right?
I'm a Finland fan. I'm a Poland fan. I'm a Puerto Rico fan. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about one of
Viva.
the good friends of the show, Zarek Valentin, who will be representing Puerto Rico in World Cup qualifiers against Bahamas. That may not have been a game I would have necessarily kind of paid attention to, but when you got
Yeah.
guys that you root for, that you like, it's fun to watch them on in there and stuff. But I think we look at it with the U.S. roster came out. You look at it's hard to find like any real beef with like the players on there. Like, yo, all these dudes can ball, right? So it's great to see. It's great to see. I think 5 FC Dallas Academy kids are former products are in that roster, which is awesome to see. So there's a lot to be excited for sure.
Justin Che gets his first call up, currently on loan at Bayern Munich. He sounds
Mhm.
like the next one of a really good line of Dallas players,
Yeah.
as you mentioned. You saw this academy. Did you go down, play against U16s and 17s in training and go, whoa, these kids are trouble?
Bro, yeah, all the time, and I think that's one of the great jobs. Oscar Pereira was there when we were there, and he did such a good job of bringing the academy kids up. A lot of times, we would have second sessions or throughout the day, and almost once a week there was always a scrimmage against the academy kids. So you had guys like Paxton Pomykal, Weston McKinney coming and playing, and these dudes were balling. I mean, you could see then like they had the quality of like, okay, these guys, there's some special talents here. So and obviously to go on and see what Weston's doing with Juventus winning another trophy. Paxton, what a special talent he is. So yeah, so there was many games and many afternoons training with these dudes and being like, how old are you, dude? But you're like, dang. And then they just brought it, man. You could see it at a early age how good they were.
What I love about these young players, you just saw a highlight of David Ochoa making the save. The grit that a lot of these young guys have. We're going to talk about Eric Williamson a little bit, but the confidence these young players have, as you said, to go toe-to-toe, to play at this level. And then the shouts to Sebastian Lletget. He's sort of like the lone guy in his generation, carrying that flag alongside Zach Steffen, who won't be here. Why, Stephen? Why is it Zach Steffen and Christian Pulisic on this roster? Should we be irate? Should we be upset?
I was so mad. What is Greg Berhalter doing? What are we doing? Are they off the roster? It's like, what a time to be alive, Gass, man, with, 2 of our best players for the national team. Oh, they're not available because in the Champions League final. Like, that's pretty sweet.
Champions.
I cannot wait.
We don't have the rights to that song, so if I sing it, it's cool, right? I'm allowed to do that.
Yeah, listen,
it's the greatest song ever,
bro.
We talked to Zach Steffen. It's going to come out, I think, next week for Extra Time Club and Country. I asked him, what's it like being on the field when that song get played? And he's like, I have goosebumps right now just talking to you about it. And now I've got goosebumps talking to you about Zach Steffen, talking to me about it. Goosebumps all around. I hope everyone else out there feels it. So it's going to be awesome. The U.S. playing Switzerland, and then they'll come here for the Nations League final. Rodolfo Pizarro expected to be part of that Mexico team. Brando Leal, part of the Costa Rica side out of Nashville, one of the best young players in MLS. Honduras as well, a number of MLS players in that Nations League final. You got South American World Cup qualifying. Obviously, we expect a large part of the Canada team to come out of MLS, and fingers crossed for them because they've got a huge test against Suriname and Kelvin Leerdam, part of that group, another MLSer. So as you said, man, what happens when 2 MLS players go up against each other in a big international game? What do you do?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's almost like when you see like these games where like the parents have like, their children on both sides.
The cut jersey?
The cut jersey. It's like when Peyton Manning and Eli Manning, what do you do? And so I don't know. I think it's almost like a win-win is the way to look at it is, listen,
fair.
On one of your teams, you can have an MLS guy who comes out on top. So that's how I like to look. At that point, whoever comes out on top, you're a bigger fan of him than the other person.
It's like when Philly plays Atlanta in CCL. I can't lose. It's the only time in CCL that I'm not going to lose. And and I love winning.
Yes.
So I'm in for that. I'm in favor of it. Speaking of big international players, a huge move made by NYCFC in the transfer market, bringing in Thales Magno, a U17 Brazilian World Cup starter when they won the U17 World Cup in 2019, playing at Vasco da Gama, who have been struggling for a bit. And now he's coming to NYCFC. Keel, this is a player who Arsenal and Liverpool were about to close and bring into England right before the COVID-19 pandemic stopped everything. And now he's coming to MLS. And there's the one part of me that can't believe it. And there's the other part where it's like, this is sort of starting to get normal, which is also wild.
You're spot on, because I think, had a transfer like this happen, 2, 3, even, a couple years ago, you'd have been like, this would be, front page and, oh my gosh, biggest move. And it's coming, and it speaks volumes of where the league is now. It's kind of like, yeah, this obviously gets attention and everything, but it's like, okay, yeah, this is kind of come to be expected, where, quality young players from South America, from Brazil, you're starting to see an influx of players. I think we're used to seeing a lot of players from Argentina, but now Brazil are coming to the U.S. To grow and apply their trade there. So, but I think when you look at this player, Talles Magno, him specifically, I think he's going to give NYCFC a lot of flexibility up top. I think we've seen their team to be solid from Sean Johnson in the back forward, but offensively it gives them just another weapon. Maxime is hopefully coming back soon. Bear should be returning sometime this summer, hopefully sooner than later from the injury. You add in Magno, should be make him even more potent attack. But I gotta listen. Have you seen this dude's highlights, by the way? I got into a deep YouTube tunnel yesterday, and I was like,
that's why I love these signings. Number one, if you're getting Dua Lipa remix versions over highlights of guys megging people, that's when you know you're in the sweet spot.
Bro, he's rainbowing fools. This dude's rainbowing players in the run of play. So for me, if anything, he becomes one of those must-watch players that what is he going to do today? I kind of, he's got that sauce. You want to watch him. He's a must-watch player. Technically very gifted, can play out on the wing, can play up top. But exactly, I'm excited to see what he does with NYCFC.
You think Matt Hedges will appreciate watching players rainbow people?
Bro, listen, as a former center back,
I was like,
rainbow, and it also, like, as someone who, like, it puts a little bit of a target, like, that's probably not going to go over very well with some of the defenders in our league.
The social media professional side of you was like, this is great. But there was a defender side of you that was like, if he comes across me, I'm a 2-foot him in the middle of a social media session.
Yeah, right on the sidelines. Be like, listen, nah, you can't be rainbowing. That's what I'm saying. As a fan, sign me up for it. I want to watch this. As a defender, no chance. No place for that in the game.
No place for it. But $12 million, the signing. You mentioned the other guys. Brenner's come through. Jefferson Soteldo as well. These are stars from Brazil. We've never seen this before. As you said, we've seen it from Argentina, maybe Colombia, maybe Paraguay. But this is new, and it's exciting. And Tate Castellanos signing his extension as well. Yep. So NYCFC, they're raring. They're ready to go down the stretch. And we questioned them coming into the year because it didn't feel like they were as deep as they've been the last 4 or 5 years when they've been one of the best franchises in MLS. They're back, man. Don't bring up any questions around this group because Ronnie Dyla and his team, they're ready to roll, and they're ready to, I think, be at the top of the Eastern Conference.
I have to agree. I think they've already found themselves at the top of the Eastern Conference. Adding a player like this only goes to help give more depth to the team. And I think we've seen over the course of the MLS season, as you need depth, you need quality players, because call-ups, injuries, it's going to happen. Be able to put in quality players to help lift the squad and stuff. So NYCFC, I think, has shown their quality over the last couple of weeks. This only helps solidify them as one of the better teams in the East.
And they'd already brought in a Brazilian in Thiago Andrade, who's not in the country yet. So they're going to add 2 Brazilians at the same time, which is great. The rondos will be fun. There'll be more players in there to juggle. They could try and rainbow each other, which I look forward to. I hope plenty of content comes out of NYCFC's camp around that stuff. Still the core of this league, though. It's Canadian and American players, the talent that we are producing. And one of the players who I am so excited about is Eric Williamson, obviously Portland Timbers, central midfielder. He's been awesome so far this year. He started out the year in Olympic qualifying training camp and then was not selected for the final roster, along with Jeremy Abobasi from the Portland Timbers as well. Gio Savarese and Merritt Paulson talked about they wanted them to be a part of it. They thought it would be a huge honor. They didn't understand why they weren't a part of that group. The U.S. obviously failed to qualify for the Olympics once again. I think that's 3 tournaments running for us. And there was a lot of question marks about the players that were picked and the players that weren't. The lack of attack at times. Eric Williamson quietly sat back and said nothing. has come in this season and has been phenomenal. Played well in CCL. Keel has played well in MLS, and then last weekend,
Yeah.
I think against San Jose, took it to another level.
The game against San Jose, I want to say it's probably one of his best games, if not his best game
Yeah.
as a pro. I think just from the opening whistle, the 90 minutes, just he dominated. He sat in that number 6 role. Diego Char was out, so he kind of slid in that defensive midfielder role for the first time. But he was just so good. I think we've seen where he can glide past players, he can combine with players, he can find that final ball that in the attacking third, and then but defensively he picks up such good spots to cut off the lanes, sitting in front of the back, the center backs. He does such a good job with that defensive responsibility as well. He just absolutely balled out. Was the best player on the field. What a performance! But you talked about it in a little bit of a little chip on his shoulder. Not selected for the Olympic team. I think a lot of people were surprised, and he was. I think a lot of people were surprised that he was left off with the quality he's shown. And then, I think you had a chance to talk to him yesterday on Extra Time, and we talked a little bit about this quote. You have a little bit more background info on it.
He put this tweet up after the game against San Jose. No context, just put it up there. Everyone knows what it is. Yeah. Michael Jordan, Last Dance, and I took that personally. People have been using it in a lot of ways. And Eric Williamson, it seems like going head-to-head against Jackson Ewell, who was the captain of that Olympic qualifying team, was probably the best player on the team. And Eric Williamson outplaying him and winning that game on the road, filling in for Diego Chara, but also having the assists, having the goals. He was hyped up. So he said he watched this on the way down, has already seen it, but was rewatching the episode, got hyped up, played at that level, and that night was back in his hotel room and was like, yeah, I'm going to put it out there. Put this out there, and then you could see it's over 1,400 likes at the point that we screenshot this, but it's probably still going up now. And I love this, Keel, because he has raised his game. Like, this isn't just I'm petty. This isn't just I'm angry. This is I'm using this to make myself better, and you need to respect me going forward.
Well, I look at the two front. One is everybody looks at and gets motivation in different forms. And so for him being left off the roster, a lot of people would sulk and say, woe is me. But he said, no. This is a huge chip on my shoulder. I'm going to go out and every day prove why I not only deserve to be on that roster, but even more so. So I love that this is his motivation, but also he's putting stuff like this out, but he's backing it up, right? His play, his performances has been phenomenal. And you just got to, we talked about, earlier in the year or early in the show with DK and Sam Vines and young players whose stock is on the uprise. And you have to put Eric Williamson in that category. So he's motivated and he's backing it up with his performances. So I love to see this type of stuff.
And he's one of those guys who he hasn't really played the 6 much in his career. He's normally been an 8 or even a 10, sometimes a winger. His versatility has to put him in a national team conversation because this is a guy you want to bring to a tournament where you have a limit on numbers and someone gets hurt and someone gets suspended. And now you could turn to him and say, you could fill in wherever. Probably Nations League is a bit too early for him to work his way back in, but he's got to be looking at a Gold Cup call-up this summer.
I agree. And like you said, I think there's so much value in the players that they don't have to be glued into one position, right? I think like this is his first time essentially playing the 6, and he did it so phenomenal, right? It's like, yeah, right. Honestly, they go into they're shorthanded, they go down to San Jose, a team that's playing some good soccer, and he sits into a new position and is the best player on the field on the day and everything. So I agree. I think it's definitely a guy. He's had conversations with Greg Berhalter, but definitely a guy that it's not too. We definitely be seeing him and should be seeing him in a U.S. national team uniform soon.
And other players out there, let us know how you feel. You got social media, you got interviews. If you feel something, put it out there. He's not getting burned for it, right? As you said, like we are all now supporting him even more. I love to see that.
But he's not getting because the dude he's backing it up, right? And Michael Jordan can say stuff and do stuff like that because he backs it up. Now, Michael Jordan's a strong comparison, is the greatest basketball player of all time. But like, you can do things like this when your play backs it up.
I didn't realize group chat was here to stir the LeBron James Michael Jordan rivalry a little bit. Stephen Keel bringing it to. I'm a fan of that. It was awesome. We had Eric Williamson on Extra Time this week, so go take a listen to that interview. He's super open, honest, just a smart young player who really gets it, and I think is going to be special for the U.S. But wherever it is in his career going forward, I'm looking forward to it. And he's going to get a chance to go to battle with the LA Galaxy on national TV, and you're going to get a
Yeah.
chance to be a part of history here if you choose to, which I highly recommend. For the first time ever, Major League Soccer is stepping into the NFT territory alongside Bitsky as well as Secret Walls. There are going to be unique secret wall created street art posters for the match between Portland Timbers and LA Galaxy on Saturday and Seattle Sounders and Atlanta United on Sunday. They'll be created during the matches, and during the match, you'll have an opportunity to purchase that NFT. After the game ends, no more. It's gone. So you get one shot at this. You got to get in there. Keel, I think you've been at some of the Secret Walls events in the past. They just do, you can see it on the screen right now. They just do such cool work.
The artwork itself is awesome, right? You said we see some examples, and we've seen in the past of different events with Secret Walls. The art and different things you do is just top class, right? It's some of the best you'll see ever. But I love that we're taking soccer, we're taking street art culture and combining the two. Always super cool. And also it's supporting local artists in each of the cities, which is awesome. Love to see that. And it's cool collectibles, right? There's only the first of this.
Limit.
So once this event ends, there's no more. Like, and so for that to be, I think there's something cool to be like, I have the first, or I have the only one of those. And I don't know about you, but I'm a big fan of battles, rap battles, art battles, you name it.
That
like,
competition.
I need that competition. I want a winner at the end of it. So I like the idea of this. This is gonna be very cool.
Keel goes into his kitchen after group chat and he says, who can smash bananas for our child faster between him and his wife? Everything's a competition. Nothing easy. As he said, it's historic. This is the first time ever for MLS. And you always want to be on that first opportunity because in 15, 20 years, when everyone has one, you can say, well, yeah, that's cool, but I've got the first one ever. And it's going to be a lot more affordable now than it will be in the future. Of course, MLS is working with Ariel.is to work on the carbon carbon emissions footprint that come from NFTs to offset that over the course of this. So you can go to MLSsoccer.com to learn more information about it. You see the website below us, Bitsky.com, and the MLS Secret Walls URL to go and buy these. So as I said, they'll be going on during the game and they'll be available for purchase. So 3:30 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday during the LA Portland game, and Seattle against Atlanta United, which are also two pretty cool clubs to have collectibles for because they're two pretty big teams and they're around for a while and people really are into it. So if you are looking forward to that like us, make sure you jump on that this weekend. And then let's take a look at one of our top stories from the week, Keel. And this was a really cool story. I think for a lot of us, it's been a long year. It's been a long 14, 15 months. So for Adam Buksa, he heard this story about the Marshall family out of Rhode Island, the two parents living in Coventry, Rhode Island, frontline healthcare workers, and they sent their kids at the time, their twin boys of 8 years old and their daughter who was 10, down to New York to live with their grandparents at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic so that they didn't have to worry about getting them sick and bringing that home to them. So they went and lived with their grandparents down in New York. A tough time. Adam Buksa hears about this story. He is the kid's favorite player on the New England Revolution, gets on a Zoom with them, lifts their spirits a little bit, makes things just a little bit easier, and then promises them, when we're ready, when we all can, I want you to come out to a Revs game with me. And finally, we are a year and a half in. People are starting to get vaccinated. Stadiums are starting to open up. The family's been reunited. They come to the game. Adam Buksa comes off the bench, scores the game winner, and then he gets to immediately walk off the field and celebrate with this young family.
It's like storybook endings, so to speak, and everything. It's like it's a Hollywood story where such a cool. First of all, to the Marshall family too. To what they do with other frontline workers, but then to send their kids away to keep them safe and allow them to help keep others safe with their jobs is you can't say enough to them. So thank you for what they do. But it's so awesome for Buksa to reach out to this family and be proactive, and these are the things you love to see, right? You see these players and and the great things they do on the field. And he's a great player for sure. But then the off the field stuff that's where it truly is special. I mean, what an experience for the kids and for the family, not only to have that interaction with him, online, but then to have him bring him to a game, and then for him to score the game winner in front of them, signed jerseys. You can't ask for a better story, and just it's so cool. So listen, good things happen to good people, and Buksa is definitely one of those good people.
Yeah, we hope the best for the Marshall family, and as you said, this league and this sport runs on supporters and the connection between the players and the people who are around these clubs, these communities. So for Adam Buksa, who himself, right, coming to the U.S. for the first time ever and just isolated for a really long time, it's beautiful to see him reach out, connect with local people, and then 1 year later, keep good on his promise, because you got to put that in the calendar. No one's going to remember. You got to put that in the calendar, and then Adam Buksa delivers. And as you said, a touching moment. Really cool. And of course, our thanks go out to all of the healthcare workers and all the frontline workers throughout the course of this pandemic who continue to fight this COVID-19. And we hope that everyone out there stays safe, mask up, continue to get vaccinated so that we can all get back into stadiums like we saw last week in Atlanta, which was awesome to see once again. I want to close out with a little soccer here, though. Adam Buksa scores the goal, comes off the field, and the reporters say, "Are you frustrated? Have you been frustrated?" And he said, "I'm not frustrated. The only thing I'm frustrated with is you asking me if I've been frustrated." So Adam Buksa, a chill guy until you ask him if he's chill.
Listen, right. Are you mad about not scoring? I'm mad about the questions, right? It's always the questions and everything. So, but what a big goal, right? Big goal for the Revs. 1-0 win over Columbus. Great goal, by the way. Good near post run. Finds on the back of that. Couple of subbed on like 3 minutes later, bags the game winner. But overall, great story, and should be for the Revs going forward. Good stuff with him getting on the score sheet again.
Yeah, he's going to be big. They're playing the New York Red Bulls. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But first, let's look at some previews for this weekend. Let's start with the first game that will have those NFT posters, Portland versus LA, as I said, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time on ABC, ESPN Deportes, and DAZN up in Canada. And Keel, when you take a look at this game for the LA Galaxy, flying high, maybe their best performance of the year so far against Austin last week. This is going to be a tougher test on the road against Portland, but this is a group that just has confidence right now, and we haven't seen it in years for the LA Galaxy.
Right, and I think we've seen a lot of credit and a lot of storylines. Obviously, Chicharito, 7 goals, 5 games. The dude's just been on fire. But I think we talk about, when you hear Greg Vanney speak a lot about the process, right? And they continue to take new steps in the process, and a big part of that is defensively, right? Making it difficult for teams to get behind them, making it difficult for teams to get into their half. And I think over the last couple of games, we've seen improvement of the Galaxy. A clean sheet last weekend. I think it was 2-1, only conceding 1 goal the previous weekend. So over the last couple of games, they've started to clean up, make it tougher for them defensively. But you got to, and also you talk about Greg Vanney and credit him. It's only 5 games, but I think when you watch this team, you just see a different energy, a different vibe. You see guys that are willing to work hard for each other. Everyone's willing to put in the effort. And at the end of the matches, you see Chicharito basically just collapsing, just a pure exhaustion from working so hard. And same goes for the entire team. So for the LA, this is a good step, and it'd be a good test to answer the question: are they just off to a hot start, or is this team kind of like, are they for real for the long term?
Yeah, and 2 big signings defensively: Ryan Ravison coming from League Two, as well as Sega Koulibaly, who should be available. So this team's only going to get stronger for the Galaxy. On the flip side, for Portland, they've had injuries, a lot to deal with, but they got that big performance. This is like a statement game to me for the Portland Timbers to say they came into the year as favorites in the conversation, to kind of like put a stamp on national TV and say, don't forget about us. We're still here.
And it goes to show, I think, coming in the season, everyone said Timbers are so deep, and it's being on full display, right? They go last week, no Diego Chara, Valeri doesn't start. You have a goalkeeper who literally joined the team a couple days ago, making his first MLS appearance. Logan Ketterer goes on to have a great PK save. But then they get a 2-0 win on the road at San Jose, who has been playing, like we said earlier, playing well. And then again, you get a team, LA comes in to Portland in good form. They're hot. They got an MVP caliber player up front. So it's a good time to see who's for real here, right?
Right.
Or maybe, so I think it's going to be a big statement game for both teams. And again, another chance to see Eric Williamson on display, national TV. Should be a good one.
Yeah, anytime you get to be on the big stage on ABC, you got to feel it. It's a big moment for those two teams. Let's move to our next game. And we already talked a little bit about Adam Buksa. They are facing off the New England Revolution against the New York Red Bulls
Mhm.
on Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, ESPN Plus in the US, DAZN up in Canada. And unfortunately, we have to start this one with the huge injury
Yeah.
for New York Red Bulls. Aaron Long, Achilles injury. It's out for the season. It's out for a while, maybe a year. No one knows yet. But let's talk for this Red Bull team. When you lose a player of that quality, maybe the best defender in MLS, maybe the best player on your team, how do you as a group move on from that?
Yeah, it's tough, right? And I'm not sure you can necessarily replace a player like Aaron Long, not only for what he can do on the field and just as a defender, what he does for that team, but also as a leader. He's and first of all, you feel so bad for him. Speedy recovery was in for a big year with the Red Bulls, with the national team, with all the games coming up. But it's unfortunate, and it's part of the game of soccer, right? If there's these injuries, it's you send your condolences, you wish him the best, but the games keep moving on. And so for the Red Bulls, it's who steps in for him. I think you look at the roster. They have a few center backs. Andres Reyes Price seems the most natural as a player that Gareth Shura has mentioned. It looks ready to step in. You've seen him a couple times with Red Bull too. Looks the part. We saw him last year in Miami. Looks like he can step in. So, but again, to replace a player like Aaron Long, there's only so many Aaron Longs out there, and there's very few of them. But it's going to be a total team effort to pick up the slack for him.
Yeah, Andre Reyes has looked awesome. I'm excited about him. But again, you'd be more excited if he was playing alongside an Aaron Long
Yes.
to like steady him. And that's the part that's missing now is that steady presence. I don't think there's a replacement out there. I'd like to see the Red Bulls go out and get maybe just a little MLS experience at that position, even if it's
Mhm.
not a starter. I know they have an Amro Tarek, but I just look at what Josh Williams did in Columbus last year, what Shane
Yeah.
O'Neal's done in Seattle. I'd like to see them bring one of those players into the roster just to have around this young group because Sean Nealis is in his second year as a pro, and we mentioned Reyes. This is a group that doesn't know this battle that well. So
Right.
I don't think you're going to go out and get a big name center back who's going to replace Aaron Long because I don't think that exists. And I don't think that's on the cards for the Red Bulls. But just bringing in some more experience might help that group. And then on the flip side for the Revs, we mentioned Adam Buksa getting the big goal. Carlos Heel, to me, is leading
Yes.
maybe the early MVP conversation. He's just been on another level. And this is what we get when we get Carlos Heel game after game.
And you took the words out of my mouth. He's got to be up there, I think, with Chicharito. Naturally, he's going to be, but those two are making strong cases for early MVP considerations. You just see how the quality of him. Honestly, it looks like every week he does something that's like, oh dang, did you see that touch or whatever from him? That's just it's so sick and everything. But I think getting Gustavo Bo, the connection that Carlos Heel, Gustavo Bo had. You start to get Buksa in there. Those three, very, very dangerous. So we talked about the Red Bulls back line, center backs. It doesn't get easier. You make a trip up to Gillette Stadium, which is always a tough place to play. And then, oh, by the way, you got this almost three-headed monster coming at you. So it'll be a tough test for Red Bulls. But, we'll see what happens.
Big game for the Revs. Shout out to John Bell. Made his pro debut, MLS debut last week at a college. Revs 2 player, got 2 starts and 2 pretty big performances for them over the course of last week. And so that gives them some depth now behind Henry Kessler that didn't exist over the course of last year. The Revs are riding high, first place in the Eastern Conference. Early conversation for MLS Cup and Supporters Shield favorites as well. And then let's take a look at Sunday. 2 big national TV matchups plus Philly versus DC. So loaded Saturday. Then you can sit back early Sunday morning, get your walk in, it's supposed to be warm this weekend, get your coffee, and then you lock in for MLS straight through the rest of the day. Starts out with this one, 4:30 p.m. Eastern time on Fox Deportes, TSN up in Canada, Seattle versus Atlanta. These are like the 2 heavyweight MLS franchises. Even though the Galaxy have history and Toronto's got success, these are the 2 we feel football stadiums week in and week out, and we can go toe to toe in the market that kind of no one else in MLS can do.
Yeah, the the support is massive, getting 40, 50,000 regularly for both these teams. But when you look on the field, look, I think it's no one's going to argue Seattle's the best team in the league right now. They're crazy good. They score goals, they don't concede goals, and it's wild is you look at the beginning of the year, Jordan Morris is out. Basically, you've only had Nico Lodeiro for 30 minutes of this season. He's going to be shut down for a couple months, it sounds like, according to Brian Schmetzer.
And it doesn't matter.
But they just keep. That's what the thing is. It doesn't. They just keep winning, and they keep doing it in great fashion. And gosh, for me, the scary thing is I think they can get even better. Right? We haven't necessarily seen them put in a complete 90 minutes, dominate both halves. We've seen them dominate, second halves of different games and stuff. But I still think there's room for this team to improve and to grow. But they're just from front to back so solid defensively. And I got to give shout out to, I know Rui Diaz gets love. Roldan, we've given love, but Will Bruin, right? I think what he's done and kind of setting, we talk about them being good defensively, is what he does for them on that front line, setting the defensive line and the pressure and how he shapes the opposing teams. It makes it easier for everyone back there. A lot of the dirty work that goes unnoticed. He does, but he's such a key player for them and so key for their success.
Bear watch out there for the Bruin, the dancing bear. Will Bruin getting it done.
Dancing bear, baby.
Real quick on Atlanta. When I watch Atlanta play, a ton of talent. It's been hard for them in the attack. And when they play at home, teams just sit back and they say, you have to break us down. I think this is actually a huge opportunity for them because Seattle, while they don't open up and play expansive, they'll be the aggressor at home. They'll feel they should. They'll want to. Maybe this is a chance for Atlanta to get the attack going, have a little bit of some few more gaps, and maybe get Joseph back on the score sheet.
And that's so key is we've seen them be, again, we talked about the Galaxy kind of in this process as well with Greg Vanney. I think we're the same thing with Atlanta, with Gabriel Heinze. It's a process and it's not going to happen overnight. But we're so used to Atlanta, just banging in goals, putting up 2 or 3. Joseph, he has another brace this game. But that's not the Atlanta team we're seeing right now. What I will say though is, they had that dramatic win last week. It was the 94th minute in front of 40,000 fans. Good teams find ways to win when even they're not playing their best soccer. I think Brad Guzan spoke about it afterwards, that this wasn't their best game, but they still found a way to get 3 points. So they're still growing. It's still that process. And like you said, I think this going to Seattle is going to be a tall test. It's going to be a tough test against a very good Sounders team. But maybe this is an opportunity where maybe Seattle will come out a little bit more, allow some more of that space for the likes of Atlanta to going forward and seeing if they can get on that front foot and see if they can open up some space and get in the score sheet, which has been a little bit challenging for the first couple of weeks.
Other MLS fans running and hiding, as you say, Seattle and Atlanta could still get better over the course of this season because especially for Seattle, they've been pretty good so far. Yes. So that one, 4:30 p.m. Eastern time on Fox. Don't forget, of course, Secret Walls doing those special match posters, the first ever NFTs in MLS history. And you can go to MLSsoccer.com for more information on that. Let's take a look at the rest of the schedule for this weekend. As I said, a loaded Saturday of action. It starts off with Cincinnati traveling to Montreal, trying to get back into the win column. Chicago versus Miami on national TV on Unimas Tudien, English on Twitter in the US and DAZN. And Keel, we've waited for this big Soldier Field Chicago debut game. Obviously, COVID delayed that, but now they're finally getting it done. Some Saturday night games that are phenomenal, especially LAFC versus Colorado.
Yeah,
Cole Bassett, right, Kellen Acosta, and Sam Vines versus that LAFC team. That's one that I'm really looking forward to. And then, Keel, as I mentioned, 2 national TV games on Sunday. And DC Philly sandwiched in the middle, which low-key, one of the best games in the Eastern Conference.
There's so many, like you said, Saturday with the Rapids, LAFC, just great games. Just sit back, right? Sit back, kick your feet up, get a nice beverage of choice, and enjoy the soccer that is.
All right, Keel, how'd I do? First ever group chat. What type of GIF am I getting in response?
Oh, that's it from the social guy, right? I give you very good performance. Very good performance.
Okay.
Do you think you were like Chicharito level right now, where you're just like off the charts? I mean, how do you feel? More importantly, I feel great.
You're pretty good. Listen, everyone always talks about the group chats there. I'm not in that many group chats. I don't get that many messages. So it felt good to be a part of something here. And hopefully you and Susanna keep messaging me and keep me engaged.
We should have brought that up the top. Well, listen, so I think you just answered the question. What is your group chat level? Like, are you like?
I never respond. I'm a reader.
Yeah.
Not a poster. Yeah.
Not a.
So I sit in there.
I
mute a fair amount of them too, because I like to read them sort of like an article later in the day when I've got time. Warnings. I hope my family doesn't see this. A bunch of my friends already know this because I tell them, especially Andrew Weavy. No one sends more messages in a row than Andrew Weavy, and if my phone's gonna break from vibrating, you got to get muted. That's the reality. Well, Keel, I promise I will never mute you. Susanna as well. We'll be back next week. But thank you so much for welcoming me with open arms. And this has been Group Chat presented by AT&T. Have a great MLS weekend, everyone.
See ya.